Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and lots of people have talked about how they're going to get off of Twitter, move away from Twitter, this, that, and the other because of Elon Musk. Very few have done it, or if they have, they haven't lasted very long. And it's because there really is no social media platform out there that's like Twitter. Yeah, you can go to Gitter, you can go to Mastodon, you can go to Trump's Truth Social, but if there's no one there to talk to and agree with and disagree with and just have a community with, then you're just going to find yourself back on Twitter. And that's, kind of what it seems like is happening according to this article from The Guardian. Elon Musk drove more than 1 million people to Mastodon, but many aren't sticking around. Well, look, I don't know how this article is going to play out. Obviously, I haven't read it like usual. We're going to go through it together. But I'm sure it'll probably say something akin to the fact that, it's a left-wing echo chamber and, stuff like that, which, from what I've heard, is very accurate. But really, it probably boils down to there's no one on the platform, at least not consistently. Like, yeah, 1 million people may have signed up, but if all 1 million people aren't on there at once, if a few thousand went at this point and a couple 100,000 went at this point, there's just, it's staggering, and it just doesn't have the built-in momentum that Twitter has had for the last decade or more. So let's take a look at this. More than 130,000 people were joining the new independent social media network per day in November. So why hasn't it taken off? The number of active users on Mastodon's social network has dropped more than 30% since the peak, and is continuing a slow decline. According to the latest data posted on its website, there were about 1.8 million active users in the first week of January, down from over 2.5 million in early December. Mastodon, an open source network of largely independent hosted servers, I'll give it credit there, being open source is good. I don't know if Twitter's open source yet. Elon said he will make Twitter open source, which is great. Open source means that the developer code and everything is fully there for you to go into, take a look at, make sure everything is on the up and up. The reason that's such a big deal for Twitter is, if everything is open source, you can go in and check and see people are being shadow banned or unfairly treated, see if there's been any behind the scenes changes. I think that the vast majority, if not all, social media platforms should be open source, because when stuff is going on behind closed doors, doesn't matter if you're on the left, if you're on the right, if you're in the middle, you want to know if there's shady things afoot. The right and the middle are not immune from doing shady things. Often been touted as an alternative to Twitter, and its growth appears connected to controversies at Twitter, but for many, it doesn't fulfill the role that Twitter did, and experts say it may be too complicated to really replace it. Twitter, in the most basic form, is simple. Meg Coffey, a social media strategist, said, "You can open up an app or open up a website, type some words, and you're done." I mean, it was a basic SMS platform. There were about 500,000 active Mastodon users before Elon Musk took control of Twitter at the end of October. By mid-November, that number climbed to almost 2 million active users. Right around the 5th of November, it was a real opportunity, Kofi said. There were a lot of people who were scared, a lot of people who didn't want to be in the place that Twitter was becoming. Yeah, well, we see how that backfired, didn't it? Look, Twitter hasn't really changed. I was on Twitter prior to Musk. I'm on Twitter now that we have Musk. Not a whole lot's changed. You know what's changed? Well, Japanese developers and video game personalities and just Japanese media in general is actually talking about Japanese media instead of cancel culture. That's changed. That was a big contentious topic for anyone that followed Japanese properties or developers or personalities or anything like that. Was just how politically correct everything was, when Japan, not exactly all about that nonsense. Other than that, I haven't noticed change. People are still posting the same stuff. I'm still seeing a bunch of anti-right-wing rhetoric. I'm still seeing a bunch of anti-left-wing rhetoric. Basically, I'm still seeing a bunch of rhetoric. It just now looks like that, maybe I'm seeing a little bit more anti-left-wing rhetoric than I was before. Probably because people that were shadow banned aren't banned anymore. But other than that, nothing's really changed. No one's getting canceled or banned for unnecessary reasons. I mean, yeah, there was that little spat that Elon had with the journalists and whatnot. Really, that's about it. So, Twitter's fine. Nothing's changed. Why move away from a social platform that works? I'm big about mute and block, and so my Twitter is fantastic. It's a really wonderful place. But I know for a lot of other people it's not. And so I can understand why they wanted to find a place that is less toxic or less harmful. Guys, nothing is toxic or harmful. Nothing. It is not toxic or harmful. What's toxic and harmful is your addiction to being on Twitter. The act of Twitter existing, whether it be on Elon Musk or whoever, it's not toxic or harmful. Just don't interact with dumb stuff and you'll be fine. It's that simple. No one is forcing you to interact with person A, B, or C. No one's forcing you to get on Twitter. People who use these terms like toxic and harmful have absolutely crushed the meaning of these words to the point where now I don't take them seriously. Like, I want to take this article seriously from The Guardian, but when the person they're quoting is using terms like toxic and harmful, it's a joke. The surge in new Mastodon users continued throughout November, peaking at over 13,000 new users a day. 130,000 new users a day. The upticks often coincided with controversial decisions made by Elon Musk. Yeah, reactionary joining of a place is never going to get them to stick around. I, like an idiot, reactionarily joined Gitter like a year ago when some dumb stuff was happening at Twitter. I posted on there a couple times, realized it was a right-wing echo chamber, not somewhere I could talk about Dungeons and Dragons and make fun of Wizards of the Coast, and I immediately stopped caring and have not, deleted the app and haven't used it since. Didn't realize that I was just going into a right-wing version of Twitter that was politics only. I just thought it was just that, an alternative. It really wasn't an alternative. It was its own separate entity, and it was awful. This included decisions to fire thousands of Twitter staff, to change verification policies, reinstate Donald Trump's Twitter account, and to suspend journalists who had reported on Musk, though there were several other scandals that do not fit into this timeline. Here we've got, some graph. Because I'm using dark mode, it's actually kind of hard to see, so hopefully it's explained. Sorry, guys. Data from Google suggests there was also a surge in searches for Mastodon in April 2022, around the time Musk announced that he had become Twitter's largest shareholder. Kofi notes that there have been several successful new social networks, most of them simple to use and let you build a community. Like the photo sharing app, Be Real. Others, like the social audio network, Clubhouse, were too exclusive to get going. Yeah, I never even heard of either of these, I won't lie. Clubhouse had this amazing opportunity, she said. They had this captive audience, but they didn't deal with the onboarding of users in the right way, and it gave other platforms an opportunity to jump on them. For many, Mastodon may prove too hard to port over their communities, and was just too complicated. Some may have gotten back to Twitter, while others said Kofi may have dropped social media entirely. And you know what? That's probably a smart move. I mean, with me being on YouTube and covering all this YouTube stuff, I can't drop social media, but I absolutely would if I didn't find so much fun. And, it's probably nice to at least take extended breaks now and again. I don't think I would drop social media. I have too much fun just poking fun at certain situations or talking about nerdy things. But in general, it's probably at least good to take social media breaks for couple weeks at a time. Everybody went and signed up on Mastodon, realized how hard it was, and then get back on Twitter like, oh, that's hard, maybe we won't go there, she said. It's like the people that said, I'm moving to Canada when Donald Trump was elected, but they never actually moved to Canada. Yeah, I was really hoping for that mass exodus of individuals. I really wasn't, but it was just funny for them to either not do it or attempt and realize how difficult it was. It was, yeah. Okay, well, looks like that's the end of that article. But basically, what it boils down to is, and I was, at least happy they did not say the left-wing echo chamber stuff. The Guardian, I don't know what direction they lean. I've seen them do stuff that makes me think they lean right, stuff that makes me think they lean left. That's probably a good thing. Maybe it means they're actually in the center and they're just reporting on the news, and I can appreciate and respect that. But all in all, I thought they would talk about how it was a left-wing echo chamber, and it is. There were reports recently that came out also about a mass amount of content involving children that is not legal, I'll put it that way, appearing on Mastodon, which is a problem that Twitter had for a very long time. So it seems like a bunch of individuals, not right-leaning or left-leaning, just a bunch of gross individuals who found out that Elon Musk was cracking down on their favorite, disgusting, gross pastime, moved over to Mastodon, and yeah, it's become sort of a hub for that thing. I don't know if it still is or will continue to be, but there was a news article covering it a couple days ago that might be worth checking out for other individuals. Now, I'm not going to, just because people more qualified than me have covered it, especially considering the egregious nature of what's being said and done on Mastodon. But all in all, look, there's just no getting away from Twitter. It's being called the town square, the public space, for a reason. The whole reason we're fighting over the freedom of speech issues in the battleground is Twitter. is because that's where all the communication gets done. And then it used to be MySpace, then it used to be Facebook, but neither one of those really took off like Twitter when it came to being this, town square, because we hadn't fully evolved, if you want to call it evolution, maybe you could say devolved, into lives of living online yet. There was still very much outside world interaction. But at this point, now, I would say that a solid 70% of our social life is online for the vast majority of people. And it's still up for debate whether that's good or bad. I'm not here to say whether that's good or bad, but it's definitely, not up for debate that if Twitter is the public space, it needs to be treated, the same way a real public space would be, and that's with freedom of speech. So, if people don't want that, don't like that, they can go to Mastodon, but at the end of the day, I don't think they will. They're going to stick around on Twitter because, A, it's the easiest, it has a built-in user base, they can say whatever they want, and the comfort of familiarity. It's also that simple, the comfort of familiarity. So, what's the good at screaming into the ether if no one's there to hear you and pat you on the back and tell you you're correct for saying that little children need to be transitioned at 4 years old just because they say that they like playing with dolls? That's what's happening on Twitter. But that's all I've got for this one. By all means, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. It would mean the world to me. I'm really trying to grow this channel. And I've got some interesting videos in the backlog if you want to check those out. You can also follow me on Twitter at BoltTheWord, because this has been Words of Paradise.